America pays too much. Europe doesn't pull its weight. NATO is weak, outdated, and maybe even expendable. That is what we keep hearing from the US president. But alliances don't survive for decades by accident. So instead of asking what NATO costs the US, let's look at the other side of the story. What does America get in return?
What NATO has always provided to the United States, as it has to other allies, is greater international legitimacy.
Oana Lungescu is a distinguished fellow at the Royal United Services Institute and a former spokesperson for NATO.
Obviously, NATO's obituary has been written many times over its history. It happened right after the fall of the Berlin Wall, when the question was, well, what is NATO for? There is serious concern about what these rhetorical attacks from President Trump mean to the solidity of the alliance and the credibility of its deterrence, because ultimately deterrence is in the mind of the adversary.
It's fair to say that Donald Trump has never been a huge fan of NATO, but since launching the war on Iran alongside Israel, his rhetoric when talking about the alliance has grown increasingly harsh.
And you know, we spend trillions of dollars on NATO, and when we need them, which we never do, we didn't need them here either. To be honest, I was really asking because I wanted to see what they do. We didn't need them. We blasted the hell out of them, out of Iran, and the last thing I needed was NATO stepping in our way.
He's called the organization a paper tiger and its members cowards for not jumping to his side in the Strait of Hormuz. But the Allies' restraint has at least two reasons. Trump never formally requested assistance, and more importantly, it's not what NATO is for.
NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO is not an offensive and aggressive alliance. It's an alliance that was built for the 32 allies to help defend each other when they come under military attack.
NATO's core promise is Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all. That has been invoked only once in the alliance's 77-year history.
So right after the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the United States, that Article 5 clause was triggered. Allies actually came to the support of the United States in Afghanistan and were there with many, many thousands of troops for 20 years, fighting shoulder to shoulder with the Americans, with over 1,000 troops from Europe and Canada losing their life.
But it's not only then that America benefited from being a member of NATO.
NATO is not a charity, and it's not a one-way deal for the United States. It's a way for the United States to help protect its prosperity and security at home, to project power abroad, and to maintain its global leadership role with a network of friends and allies, 31 friends and allies, a network that no other superpower has. China doesn't have it, Russia doesn't have it. So no geopolitical rival has that except for the United States. For instance, the trade relationship and the economic relationship between the United States and Europe remains the biggest in the world. So NATO is also one way to protect that very important, vital economic relationship for the United States. But it's also a way to project power beyond its borders through a network of bases, permanent bases in Europe, which help project power beyond the continent to places like the Middle East, Africa, Central Asia. It's a way to exchange intelligence in a framework which is clear and established. And finally, having 31 friends and allies also can give the United States greater international legitimacy. And it shows that it's not acting alone. This is a world which is dangerous, and it's a world where no country, not even the biggest superpower, can deal with challenges alone.
Despite all this, the US president has been openly toying with the idea of ditching NATO, something the organization's Secretary General, Mark Rutte, is doing his best to avoid. He's known to be a bit of a Trump whisperer, and the man who referred to the US president like this.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while you have to use a certain word.
He's meeting Donald Trump in Washington on Wednesday, hoping to practice damage control.
He's, I think, one of the few, if not the only leader in Europe that still has a very good working relationship with President Trump, somebody who speaks to the American leader sometimes, several times a day, and who has clearly heard a very angry Donald Trump recently criticizing Europeans for not helping him in the Middle East. Mark Rutte will be going to Washington, D.C. This week for, obviously, I would say one of the toughest meetings in his long and distinguished political career. He's always been a politician who was able to find a way through and find consensus among differing points of view, different political parties. I think his diplomatic and political skills will be put to a very big test this week. And the future of NATO will, at least to some extent, depend on the outcome of this meeting.
Most member states are hoping Rutte will succeed in getting the alliance off the brink, because major disruption to NATO's joint defense infrastructure, one that has grown closely intertwined over almost 8 decades, would be complicated, expensive, and fraught with risk.
It would take many years, and it would be very costly and very difficult, and would have significant consequences for the United States as well as for the Europeans and for Canada. The United States right now has probably around 80,000, 85,000 troops on the European continent. We haven't seen any indications that they would all be called home anytime soon. We've seen, for instance, just a few weeks ago, the biggest exercise, NATO exercise in Europe, being held up north in Norway, in Finland, with a participation of around 30,000 NATO troops, including many thousands from the United States. So from that point of view, the military relationship remains very strong. The diplomatic relationship continues, but of course, there are serious strains at the heart of this political military alliance.
Now, if you're rooting for NATO, I've got good news for you. Donald Trump can't just up and leave. He needs the backing of 2/3 of the US Senate, which he doesn't have. Also worth mentioning, polling suggests that Americans are actually quite fond of the alliance. But all of this NATO bashing is having an effect. It's making the alliance look weak.
Russia, China are watching, and their aim has always been to undermine and to divide NATO and to make the United States desert Europe. We should not be doing the work of our adversaries.
So where can NATO go from here? The alliance has gone through many a crisis over the years, but this one, says NATO veteran Oana Lungescu, feels different.
This is, I think, the most tense, the most dangerous moment in NATO's history, and hopefully it will be able to emerge stronger once again. It will take a lot of work to rebuild trust. I would say for Europe, the best option is to continue to invest and to step up investment in its own defense. A stronger Europe can also be a stronger partner for America, for the United States now and in the future.
Maybe the former NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said it best when he addressed the US Congress in 2019 during Donald Trump's first term.
It is good to have friends. Thank you.